During one of my recent live Q&As that I do on Instagram, one of my listeners asked, what are they to do if they get triggered by my work? Now, this is important. It's a great question and it's something that I want to talk about. We should discuss it. Now, my instant reaction to that question is, first of all, that I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the things that I write can be triggering. It is never my aim to trigger anybody. Of course, it is never my aim to trigger anybody. Absolutely not. And actually, when I heard that question during the live Q&A, I answered it the best I could off the top of my head, but it actually kind of really hit me. It kind of really hit me that particular listener would need to ask that question after following my work. That means that they are probably not the only one that has been triggered by my work. Now, what I'm trying my hardest to do is to make this subject approachable, make it readable, make it engaging, make it informative. I try my best to stay away from being explicit. I try my best to stay away from being graphic. Now, I do that for the most part. I do know that on the occasion I push that boundary because sometimes I feel like it needs to be pushed, because my audience is not only survivors. My audience is also people who have just come across my work through chance. Maybe they've come across it because someone else has shared it on their profile. Maybe they've come across it because sometimes my work is shared on parenting accounts and education accounts. So maybe they've come through my work through there. So it's not necessarily my page is not only survivors. And actually, I just want to say that's a fantastic thing. That's a fantastic thing, because one of my main audiences, one of my main target audiences are people who have never experienced this, because usually they're the people who don't normally come across this topic. So they're less aware, they're less vigilant with their surroundings. So that's a fantastic thing. I'm trying my best to create this mixed audience. So sometimes I feel like I need to push that boundary sometimes, just to let people know this is real, right? This is real. And sometimes I feel like if I can help you visualize what this really is, then I can help the importance and urgency that person as a viewer will really feel in my post. So I try my best not to write triggering stuff. But sometimes I feel like it's unavoidable, because the problem is that if we are sugarcoating this topic, if we are not talking about it in a direct manner ever, I'm not saying we need to do that all the time, but if we're never talking about it in a direct manner, then it is part of the problem. Part of the problem is we are downplaying it because it's too uncomfortable to hear. Part of the problem is that we are sugarcoating it. Part of the problem is that we are not talking like from the truth of it, from the reality of it. That's what I'm saying. Now, after thinking about this question that the listener gave to me during that Q&A, I believe it was last month's Q&A, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I literally just couldn't stop thinking about it, because it highlighted to me that my work will trigger some people. It's absolutely unavoidable. That is unavoidable. I can't I can't not trigger everybody. I'm definitely going to trigger some people. I can't avoid that because I'm talking about child sexual abuse. Right? So anybody that has had an experience of child sexual abuse, if they are following me, then there is a risk that at some point I'm going to say something that's going to trigger them. My immediate reaction to this person, I'm sure that what I first said was sorry, which is how I opened this video. And because I am sorry about that, I also mentioned that if my work, which I'm posting every day during the week on social media, and the YouTube momentum is now starting to flow, 1 or 2 videos a week on YouTube now, I did say that if it becomes too much for you, then unfollow. I hope you don't unfollow. And the reason why I hope you don't unfollow is not some numbers thing for my ego. It's the fact that I feel like I am providing valuable information and valuable encouragement. I really do. I really do feel like I am. So I would feel sad that if you were to unfollow, then you won't be seeing the new content that I'm putting out there, where I'm trying to be as creative as possible and hit this topic from every angle. But if you need to unfollow just for a certain amount of time, if it's just too much for you, then yeah, please do unfollow. But it's important that I'm really trying to continually break the boundaries, not push the boundaries with how explicit I talk about it. Because if you are following me on social media or YouTube, you will see that I'm very rarely explicit or graphic. Very rarely. Very, very rarely. I'm not trying to push that boundary. I don't think that's useful. Because I think if you were to push that explicit or graphic boundary often, then you're going to get people turn away. They're going to shy away from the content. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to engage the people. We're trying to turn heads towards the content. Because it is too graphic. If you are graphic and explicit about it, it's too much for people. This is so crazy. This is so crazy. What do we mean by it's too much for people? All we're doing is telling people what happened. You know what's mad? What is so crazy is that I would never be able to tell my story in its detail, in the truthful manner. I would never be able to tell it fully. Because if I did that, very quickly, the big platforms would pull me down because it would be explicit. All I'm doing is telling people what happened to me. But you can't do that. It's like it's like you're caged. Because all I want to do is tell my story as it is and get people to understand that this kind of thing was going on then and it's still going on now. Straight up. Anyway, now that more people are speaking out and being forthcoming and being brave and being strong with their story, maybe now there's a turning point and people are going to start seeing that this is real. This is real. And this is happening everywhere. So, triggers, back to the point of this video. What do I do about it? Like, what? How do I move forward from here? You can't please everybody, and you can't not trigger everybody, right? That kind of makes. I feel like that's something that makes sense, and is accepted by us all. We know that for sure. So it poses the question, doesn't it? Why am I not putting trigger warnings on my content? And I want to answer that. Why am I not putting trigger warnings on my content? I've thought about it a lot. I've been doing this for 3 years now. I've been making content for 3 years. I've been speaking out in public for 3 years now. And I've never put a trigger warning on anything. Let me just have a think whether that's actually the case. I've never put a trigger warning on anything. And I have received the odd comment saying, trigger warning, please, this should have a trigger warning. Now, I want to explain why right now, currently, with what I know, with how I feel, I will not be putting trigger warnings on my content. I'm sorry if that offends anybody. I'm sorry if that makes anybody angry. But let me tell you the reason why. Because one of my target audiences here, one of the audiences that I really, really want to reach with my work is people who do not have a direct link to this topic. They either haven't been through it themselves, or they don't know anybody that's been through it. They're not following anybody that talks about abuse. And they will come across my work because somebody shared it or through a hashtag, etc. Because if I put a trigger warning at the start of that video, at the start of that post, and I say trigger warning, child sexual abuse, can you imagine how many of these people that it would reach, it would get on their newsfeed, for an example, they see that trigger warning and they scroll straight past it because on a Sunday evening, they don't want to watch that kind of thing. And then we lose that opportunity to get this topic in front of that person. And if I put a trigger warning, right, let's just go through an example. Okay, let's go through an example. A piece of my work that I believe a number of people would say I could have done with a trigger warning. If you have seen the video that I posted earlier this year on YouTube, where I'm sitting on a bench and I'm talking about how I was groomed into the camera. That is a intense video. That's an intense video. Nobody is watching that and not feeling emotionally affected. Nobody is watching that and not feeling emotionally affected. Now, that could have done with a trigger warning at the start. I will accept that. However, it got shared so many times on social media, it reached, 30, 40,000 people. And if I had put that trigger warning at the start, so many of those people, I believe, wouldn't have watched it. But then they watched it, and that was a video that towards the end of the video, I talk about having the open conversation with children. That's the important message in that video. And I don't want it to be skipped past because people scrolling on their social media feed don't feel like watching something like that on an evening. Whereas we filmed that and I wrote that. If you've seen it, you'll know that I wrote it and Luke Mound, who directed it, we did it in a way that we tried to draw you in. You know, it was a happy story at the start, if you remember. We try to draw you in so that you'll watch till the end where the message is. The internet is such an open place, and I feel like you're open to any triggers at any moment in any content. And anything can trigger you. Anything can trigger a memory. What is a trigger? What is a trigger? I don't know. I am not an academic in this, okay? I'm not an academic. But what I'm going to say a trigger is, from my knowledge, is when something reminds you of something that was traumatic for you. And it sends you off balance for a period of time. It makes you feel unstable for a period of time. Now, that can be done by anything. The example I've given before is that could be done by an orange. And as I just said that, I'm thinking somebody who's watching that's going to think that's ridiculous. But it's not. Because if somebody has gone through, let's say, child abuse, let's take that, and their abuser always talked about oranges, or that was their favourite fruit, or that was always the fruit that they would have after dinner, and that was something that they were known for, then that every time you see an orange, you're going to remember certain things that happened in your childhood. Now, I know maybe that's it's not the best example, but I just wanted to use a simple example to explain it. I'm trying to get this work in front of as many people as possible. That is the aim. That's what's important. I mean, honestly, I have had many messages from parents saying that they had never thought about speaking to their children about this whole situation until they started watching the content I'm putting out on YouTube. It's working. It's working. I can't protect everybody with my work. I can't do it. And if I try to do it, I will never succeed, because I'll try to do it with one area, and another area of that particular video, let's take it as an example, will trigger somebody. I'm talking about the most triggering. For somebody who's had an experience of child sexual abuse, I am talking about child sexual abuse. That is the subject that I'm mainly talking about on my profiles. So I can't avoid a trigger. I really can't. I don't know whether what I'm saying is going to make some people angry, because they're going to say, just put the trigger warning at the start. And I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm trying to improve the way I communicate it so that it's less triggering. Or, I just thought of something. Also, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it so full of information, so full of engagement, so full of empowerment, so full of strength, so full of courage, that if you do feel a slight trigger somewhere in the work, that strength, courage, empowerment, engagement, interest, curiosity, information overpowers that feeling of the trigger. That's what I'm going for. Now, before I finish this video, I just want to say to people that I'm continually learning about the best ways to go about this. Okay? So, what I've explained here in this video is my current view. It's my current knowledge. It's my current approach. As I learn more, as I do this more, as I learn from other people, possibly my view changes, because we're trying to evolve all the time. So just stick with me, bear with me, please be patient with me. I'm trying my best here, absolutely trying my best. So thank you for watching. I hope that I've explained myself well enough for now, and thank you for the support.